These train tracks are where Josh spent some of his time when he wasn't feeling so well and he'd be at school. He'd just come across here and probably skip classes and just walk along the train tracks. And in his journal he wrote that he wanted some of his ashes to be scattered here along the tracks, and I didn't feel that his wishes were really respected all that much, and his ashes kind of just kept at our house. And I ended up quite a few years later, I think when I was 16, so maybe 5 years after he died, I took some of them and came here and scattered them myself, because I really wanted what he wanted to be respected. In the days after it happened, like I said, there was a lot of people drawing on the sidewalks, and that originally started outside of Sam's house, which is where Josh died. Sam was his best friend. He died outside his house. So that started there, and they had one of those tall tiki torches, like right by the spot that he killed himself. And so after it had started, the drawing on the sidewalks by his place, it also moved to our place, and people would come by and just pick up some chalk and draw. And so I would draw stuff too and just spend the day like out there and talking to different people. I remember one lady, a friend of my mom's, coming and sitting me down and just having me list all the people that I wanted to know about it, you know, that she was going to call them and tell them, you know. So I list all my friends from school and all these people that like I wanted for them to know about it. I guess also just so that when I went back to school in a month, there would be some kind of awareness, I guess, that I wouldn't be exactly the same and stuff, and that I might be having a hard time. So I think that was good. In that immediate time afterwards, I really needed people of my generation, not necessarily my age, but even just Josh's age, non-adults, to be around me and to grieve with me, just because being with all the grown-ups was really heavy and serious, you know, and I really wanted to just like laugh about him and have good memories about him and hear stories. Josh's friends were around a bit, but I think that they really wanted to be together, you know, like it was like they had their community, I guess, and they really needed to grieve together, and we weren't really part of the same community. Like my family, it was like we had our family and they had their family a little bit, and Josh was sort of more part of their family at that point. So I think that was really hard for my parents, but I felt kind of in between, because I could just go and be with his friends, even though I, you know, was a lot younger and wasn't going to school with them and didn't share a lot of the memories and stuff, but they were definitely more receptive to having me than to having, say, my mom go and spend time with them and that kind of thing. So they were really, really good to me, but you know, after a month or so was over and they all went back to school and they had each other there to like lean on and remember, and I didn't really feel like I had the community that I might have wanted or needed. Didn't really feel good about being at home, because it was just so unnatural to be the only child. It was like, you know, I have the youngest sibling, so since I was born, I've always had another person to take on the parents with. It's really strange. I didn't know, seeing him He didn't really look peaceful. Like, he just looked, he still, like, he looked angry, kind of. Um, you know, it was really shocking. I'd never seen, like, a dead person. And, you know, he was covered up to here with the sheet, and he had his eyebrow ring in, and like, it was really, really cold, and obviously, you know, he's like discolored a little bit. I was really adamant that I wanted to go in and see the body with my parents, and I remember my mom was for it and my dad was for it, and it was like the person working there that was really like, I don't think this is a good idea. You know, I don't really think an 11-year-old should see a dead body. And my mom was like, no, she really wants to, and I think it's okay, and let her. And so then they did. But yeah, and yeah, so I just remember that experience of kind of people feeling like I needed to be treated as a child and not like included in the process that, you know, we had to go through. Later on, when the coroner was giving his report or whatever, and I was not like allowed in the room. I was like upstairs, and I knew exactly what was going on, and then, you know, and Josh had a journal, and I wasn't allowed to read it, and I knew where it was hid, so I would just go find it when my parents were out, and just that kind of stuff that I felt like I was being protected, but not stupid. So I remember our very, very close family friend who's close to my parents, and her kids were friends that I grew up with. I asked her one day, I said, can I come live with you for a little while? And I can't be at home. It's really hard to be at home, and my parents are crying all the time, and there's just so much sadness and so much like heaviness around that I just want to get out of it for a bit. And she said, yeah, and I'll talk to your parents about it, and she did. And I remember just not wanting to have the conversation with my parents, so it was kind of like they had the conversation, and then I came, and I was sort of like, okay, so did Margot talk to you? Okay, good, so I'm gonna pack my things now. You know, and we never really could sit down and talk about it together. That happened a few times. The first time was within the year that Josh had died. Because I was so aware of how painful it was for my parents, I didn't want to add to that by having them witness me being sad and alone and feeling all these things. You know, so I didn't want to add to their grief, so I think I kind of, in a way, started to become the strong one. I had to, like, I felt like I had to take on that role for some reason, and I didn't feel like it was okay for me to be sad and crying and grieving around them, because that would just make them worry about me and feel sad when they were sad enough. You know. My grade 6 teacher he was really understanding and there for me, but one thing that I was always a very independent child, and I think that was like really emphasized with Josh's death almost. I really didn't want to be cradled, and I think he really got that, this teacher. He wasn't someone who was always like, how are you doing? What's up, Nisha? You know, he really, when I felt like I needed to leave the classroom or something, I really felt comfortable that I could do that. So, like, there were a couple times I seem to remember that I had to leave and go to the bathroom and cry, or, you know, one of my friends would come out with me or something, and that was always just kind of understood. He didn't have to come and talk with me about it after, or he didn't have to come run after me. And so, yeah, I completed grade 6 and 7 at the same elementary school. Then for high school, I really wanted to come here. there was just something that was saying I really want to go to Josh's school, but my parents really were not okay with that, and that was pretty much off the table. Like, I wasn't. And I do understand that they didn't want to have to come here and drop me off, or just have to be here, or, you know, come in for a parent-teacher conference. It would just be too difficult, and I do understand that. But yeah, I don't think they considered enough how important it was for me and how much it meant to me. There was just something about Josh's presence. I really just knew I wanted to come and go to school here. So after grade 10, something changed, and my parents said, okay, if you want next year, you could go to Point Grey. And so yeah, we kind of came to an agreement, and I did come here for my last 2 years of high school, grade 11 and 12. When I was going to school here, just grieving-wise, I didn't really start grieving until age 16. About 5 years after it happened is when I actually started to deal with some of it. I guess there was a comfort to walking down the halls that I knew Josh walked down, and sitting in classrooms that I knew he sat in, and like, I don't know, there was something where I felt like he was around more. So I liked it, but it made things come up that obviously needed to come up. The counselor here, that was Josh's grade counselor, was a woman named Miss Mickelson, who was just really awesome and understanding, and not like any other counselor I've ever had. And Josh had felt really comfortable with her, and they knew each other. They had a really close relationship, and he would go to her, and she knew he was depressed, and he came to her and confided in her about things, and a lot of his friends also had been really close with her after Josh's death. They had talked to her, and like, they just, yeah, she was really able to connect with the students. She knows me, she knows my family, she knows my brother, she knows all of this stuff. I don't have to explain anything. She was just really there for me, and really allowed me to drop into her office whenever, talk about it whenever. Sometimes I would just sit there and cry, and we wouldn't even talk. I would just come in and be silent for like a long time. You know, she wasn't prying at all. She would never push anything. I went to a number of different therapists, like 3 or 4 different ones. I didn't like being dissected. I didn't like how I had to, like, why couldn't I just feel things and just feel them? Why did I have to tell someone what I was feeling? Know that no matter what age, people know what's right for them, and like, even though I was 11, and even though I'd never gone through anything like this before, I knew what I wanted and what I didn't want, and that really needed to be listened to. Like, yes, send me to 1 therapist, send me to 2 therapists, but when I say I don't want to see someone, I mean it, and that should be heard. I guess that would have been where my parents should have known, because they should have known me well enough to be like, we trust her, we can tell. I guess it was scary because they thought they knew Josh was okay, and he wasn't. I still feel a need to know him, because I guess because of our age difference, there's definitely a feeling that I never really got to the point where we could be friends, because I was still like the bratty, annoying little sister who would tag along and sort of like interrupt him when he was with his friends and that kind of thing, and that's pretty typical. But later on, when you're both young adults, I think that we would have been really good friends, and I think we would have just had a friendship that I guess I feel like I missed out on that, and I'm just, yeah, I feel kind of ripped off. And there's like a chronic loneliness that's there. Yeah, I still wish that he was here, and I wish that I could share a lot of things with him. Now that I'm older than he was, it's a bit of a weird feeling because I'm the younger sister, but now I'm older than him. So I look at it differently than I did when I was, say, 12, 13, 14, because he was still like older, and he was still the wise one, and I guess I felt like, well, he knew what he was doing, and I didn't see it as a mistake really, and now I do, because now I feel like, you're 15, like you didn't know anything, you're so young, and like, you just, like, it could have gotten better and you couldn't see it. So yeah, now I see it more as like just a really sad mistake and a really, just a shame.